All right, so welcome to the KillJoy Jake YouTube channel, everybody. I am joined here with the cast and crew of Heretics, a brand new mockbuster from the Asylum. How's everybody doing? All at once, maybe.
Good.
Great.
Hey, there you go.
Pretty good.
I
And
love the chaos of that
technically-
response.
Technically not a mockbuster. Yes, it has the S at the end of it. So I can see the confusion. Completely different movies, completely different approaches. Just want to get that out there.
Well, Jose, that is a perfect lead into our first question here, because I did want to ask, it is called Heretics, which there was another movie that came out last year called Heretic. How does
really?
it, I guess, maybe. I didn't hear it. Until you brought it up just now. But I guess this is a question for Jose and Ryan here. How is it different from something like Heretic, the weird Hugh Grant movie from last year?
Well, visually, the biggest difference is that it's found footage. It's not a traditional movie. They're both religious-y, but I think I'm going to toss it over to Ryan because he was there from the inception. As while we didn't really have a traditional script, we had an outline. So, Ryan, why don't you bring us in on how this all became a thing?
Yeah, so the Asylum puts together, we look at all the big movies coming out in the calendar year, the ones that have firm release dates, and we kind of go through it with the executives, and we decide, they'll pick, we want to do this one, we don't want to do that one, and they wanted to do tie-in to Heretic. And they also wanted to get back into mockbusters, so they thought this would be, or found footage. So they thought this would be a good one, horror found footage. And from there, we just kind of used the title as a jumping off point and kind of looked at the synopsis. I gave them about 5 or 6 pitches for different options for a movie called Heretics, and we landed on this one. Is the one that the executives wanted, and from there just kind of expanded it out to kind of a half-page synopsis, which is a little atypical of how Asylum works, but because it's found footage and you're not really writing a script, it wasn't quite the ordinary process since we hadn't done a found footage movie in 8-9 years.
Since 20, I think Hornet was the last one, 2018.
Then from there, just kind of had one round of notes with one of the executives. Didn't even give that many once it was expanded out to like a 20 page treatment. And then Jose got it, and go with God. That's
yeah.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Yep.
What was it like making a found footage movie opposed to something that's more traditionally shot?
Surprisingly, a lot more freedom, a lot more room to experiment and explore, which is sometimes like we shot this movie in 4 days, and we shot it on my phone. Those parameters. 4 days, that sounds like almost no time. But if you're shooting on a phone, I mean, you're basically making a long YouTube video. I've done that before, Jake. I've been there. I've been there. So when when we were sort of given the freedom to do that, to be experimental with it, then I almost had no worries going into it. We had the 20 pages. That was instrumental for the actors, and I'd like them to sort of chime in on how they used. There was a little character breakdown. There was, there were scenes in it like, hey, the characters interact. They go here, they do this. There's stuff towards the end that was sort of exposition heavy that we couldn't really fit in an organic way, but we had that freedom to play with it. And I think that's what made it probably the most exciting Asylum movie I've ever made. Was this thing that we shot in 4 days. And by the way, we shot it in Northridge, not Burbank. I think I heard somebody say Burbank. It was Northridge. It was 4 abandoned shacks in the woods. And then we spent a day in Pasadena. I have a buddy who's an artist, and he built a serial killer dungeon in his backyard, and we shot there for some of the without it getting into spoilers, some of the darker sequences in the movie.
You guys want to chime in on that? Some of the cast and crew out there about making a found footage. Have you guys made a found footage movie before, or is this your first time?
That was a first, and honestly, it was a blast. Like Jose was saying, it's just like the freedom aspect of it was great. Like Neely got a gun, that was great. Like everything. Like, I don't know. Like it was just more fun. It was more like Jose just kept saying, yeah, let's make a movie. Just do it. And then it was just like, it was fun. It was just fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, when you... Oh, you go ahead, Neely.
Oh, okay, sure. Thank you. Yeah, it was interesting because as an actor, you kind of get used to looking past the cameras and they're always kind of still there. But in this experience, it kind of like really felt like we were in it because it was us filming on iPhones, which like is something that could actually happen. So I really felt like in the moment that it was kind of actually happening, which was fun.
Yeah, and connecting to what she said, the element of like looking to the camera, there was also it in many ways it felt very like unlike any other film that I'm sure that we've been on, because it was so fluid and coming into it and having ideas about what you want to do, being a little intimidated, but then once you like meet the other cast people and then you start bouncing off each other's ideas, it just becomes really fun and like a play. I keep thinking of it as a play because moment to moment things can change and we can use that to motivate how this next scene will go. And it was just so collaborative when we were all working together to sort of figure out what it was at the end as like a cast, and with our great director leading us there and showing us what does or doesn't work.
No, that's awesome. I've heard other creatives who have come on the page before say that you truly write a movie 3 times. You know, when you're writing it, when you're shooting it, when you're editing it, it just becomes something different. It evolves as you create, as other people add their own flavor to it. And I love that process. It's always very exciting to talk about. Did you guys have a favorite behind the scenes moment when you were shooting this though? Obviously it's a little more freeform, a little more relaxed. Was there just something really goofy that ended up happening behind the scenes?
Well, I do have a favorite, but it's technically not my memory, but it's something that happened to somebody else. And I think I always have her mention this. So Neely, would you like to tell us my favorite memory?
Yes, my pride and joy of a moment that I've shared on multiple interviews. Basically, I peed my pants a little bit at some point in the shooting because, you know, I was actually scared. Like I had been jump scared, although I knew that this person was going to come out at the door as I was running towards it. It's in the trailer as well. But for some reason, it just, every time it like jump scared me, and I drink a lot of water and I eat a little. It was a big, you know, it was like one of the last scenes of the night, and it was funny. We were all laughing about that. So.
When you gotta go, you gotta go, you know?
Right. You know what? That is a feather in my cap that I made one of my actors pee because it was so scary. That's kind of amazing, man. My favorite memory, honestly, is like, look, my favorite part of making a movie is working with the cast, because you get to really, because they're the movie at the end of the day. They're not going to work. No one's going to know about behind the scenes things or the notes or the changes or whatever. It's all going to be about these guys on camera. What are they doing? How are they reacting? And is it believable? And do we like them? And do we care if they die or not? That's always my favorite part of movie making. But for this movie, I think it was extra special because we had all met that day. I was never able to meet them beforehand. So the day of shooting, hey, we're making a movie in 2 hours. You guys have to become friends real fast. This is who your characters are. Let's figure out what your backstories are. Let's figure out how you know each other. Let's figure out how you connect. Who do you like? Who do you hate? You know, the first half of the movie is them kind of just hanging out and us, you know, embracing them as characters. And I wanted that to be believable.
I would say personally, I know I mentioned this on the other interview, is when we went through kind of the creepy little haunted house that the guy built in his backyard. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen before, like out of all the locations we've shot at. But I also think another favorite memory, I don't know if the cast knows about this. I know Ryan, we've talked about it, but when Jeremy, who's our assistant editor, overnight, he'll be the ones that kind of get the footage and assemble it. And this is the first time we've done a movie where all of a sudden I get like, I don't remember if it was a phone call or a text or something, but like later that night, he was like, holy shit, dude, I actually jumped and like screamed or something. Because one of the reveals like freaked him out. And I thought that was probably my favorite moment. I don't know if I told the cast, but that was definitely one of those texts where it's like, I was like, okay, we're on the right track here with the movie.
You've actually gotten a reaction from something you've made, you know, like that's such a fulfilling moment, I'm sure, in any process.
Right, from the people that should be the most cynical about it, you know, the people who are making it are just kind of going through the, you know, the raw footage. So that's pretty amazing.
The moments where we have to have like this high energy and we're running around, it was a lot of fun to sort of have this physical element to the performance. I was like having a blast with it, but sometimes I would have a camera and we would have to go through like a lot of different things within the scene and we had to end at a certain point. One of my favorite moments is when a bunch of us were sort of meeting up after being separated and then something happened and we had to go out certain doors, and it blurred the line between like acting and just genuinely being a human, because we were trying to scramble, and like in the split second that we were like, oh, that's our cue, we gotta exit, like nobody knew what door to go through, and we were all kind of just like bumping into each other and like running in circles. We're like, let's go here. And so it kind of is really funny when like you're doing a project where something that you're like genuinely feeling or doing in the scene that's just you connects to what the character should be like feeling or acting like. And I just loved it because I don't even think that take got used because it was just too chaotic. But I remember looking at the recording after, because I was holding the phone, and I was like, yeah, I'm clearly just like running in circles looking at the other actors about like, where am I supposed to go? And I think we were all kind of just like, does anyone know where to go? So moments
No,
like that where you're like, what Neely?
I literally think in that take, I like was spinning, not running. I was just like turning in a circle like multiple times because I didn't know where to go. And I looked, my survival instinct.
Yes. Exactly.
For the record, they knew where to go. They just forgot. But they were pointed in directions. They got caught up in the moment. JJ, what about you? Any memory?
I just liked how like every time you were like directing us, you kept like finding new toys. Like where you would like leave and come back. Like you guys remember like the pumpkins he had, and like you just found like a trench coat, and I was like, I don't know, I like that. It was just like every time we let him walk away, he came back with new toys. I found that really funny. Like that was cool.
Yes, I'm glad that I'm glad that left an impression on you. Next time I'll have more toys for us. I'm brushing up on my juggling skills for the next one. So
You got to entertain the actors somehow.
you know, a little bit. Hey, look over here, guys. Look over here.
I remember that. We were like, oh, there's the lights. There's the direction.
Yeah.
Look here.
It was pretty dark. We were filming in pitch black with no studio lights beyond phone lights. So yeah, I needed to be able to direct attention to myself. Yeah, but I mean, overall, it was an unbelievably good time. And I don't know that I would. A part of me at one point I said I would do it again, but now I don't know, because I don't know that I could replicate such a fun thing. You know what I mean? I think that'd be hard to really do that again. But I'd be willing to try it again. I'll say that.
Well, you know, with found footage, we've talked a lot about jump scares, having fun behind the scenes, pissing our pants. What was a moment from this movie that was like, what do you think is the scariest scene from the entire film? Without spoiling anything too much, of course.
I think anything in the dungeon is scary. Ryan?
I was going to say there's some incredibly the hair and makeup team, the practical effects on a lot of this are truly remarkable, and they did so much with no budget, and especially when you're getting towards the end of the movie, there's some pretty remarkable stuff in there that will be pretty jarring.
We got to get bloody. Asylum rarely lets you get bloody, and they let us get gory. So, I mean,
we were finally able to get crazy. I mean, now they're becoming a lot more open to it, but yeah, this was one of the first-ish ones where it was like we could kind of hop out there and just do what we did, and we didn't get any calls complaining.
For the actors, us seeing how some of the other things, you know, the practical effects on them with, you know, keeping it vague, it was gnarly and, like they said, very impressive, and it was really effective for us, like seeing some of the things that I personally got to see as my character. It really motivated us a lot to really raise the stakes and to really feel that peril, because it was just really well done. And so every time we heard there was another one that was going to get made up, we were all excited because we were like, oh, it's just going to be absolutely gross in the best way.
I think after, you know, you see something like Paranormal Activity, that's like kind of in your head about what your expectations are going to be with found footage. To see so much blood, to see so much gore, a lot of different acts of violence in this one. It was surprising just from what you would expect from this a typical movie in this subgenre.
That's great, and yeah, that's another thing you don't really see in found footage. It's, you know, if somebody gets killed, either they drop the camera, or they, you know, whatever, they run off, or it hits a wall, it cuts the static. You don't really get to see the juicy stuff. So we found a way to get juicy with it. It was the last night, so we just went crazy, and my mind was like, what's the worst they can say? No, cut around it. Fine, then the movie's butchered, and they won't want that either. So you know, it was one of those like ask forgiveness, not permission kind of things, but I think it worked out in our favor.
I have to ask everybody, what's your favorite found footage horror movie? And Brendan, I guess we'll start with you all the way at the bottom there.
It's a tie between As Above, So Below and Oren Peli's Area 51.
Oh, nice. You can elaborate on that, Brendan. Defend your
Okay,
point.
I didn't know if this was an elaboration thing. So
yeah.
For those who haven't seen As Above, So Below, it is kind of a horror action film with a whole bunch of adventure vibes into it. People break into the Paris catacombs, and it's kind of them exploring in there. They actually filmed in the real catacombs. And the cool thing about that, you know, horror movie is not everyone gets killed. And it's actually genuinely really creepy. It's really fun. The script and story is really good. The acting is really good. They really try and stay away from like the typical found footage tropes. And I remember seeing it in theaters, and I was like, holy shit, this movie is like really good, you know, compared to a lot of other stuff I've seen. And then when it comes to Area 51, that movie is kind of a horror film, but it leans more into the sci-fi action genres. And that one's about people who break into Area 51, which I thought at the time when it came out, you know, I was like, oh, this is a really cool like concept. It's different. It's bigger. No one at the time had done something like that before. And I was always fascinated because that was the follow-up movie for Paranormal Activity. He's only directed one other film, and that was it. And it was in production hell for a very, very long time. So I was very excited when it came out, and I bought it, and it was a risk. And I was like, maybe I'll hate it, maybe I'll love it. And I still remember watching it, 10, 12 years ago, being like, this is actually really, really fun. So those are mine.
Didn't he do Chernobyl Diaries? I feel like he did some Chernobyl movie.
He produced it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's only directed 2, and I have to say, Area 51 is 10 times better than Paranormal Activity.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay. Wow. Some hot takes being tossed around here.
I
I love it.
No,
I
agree.
Well, I mean, facts are facts. You can't, I mean, if I want to watch people in a haunted bedroom, I mean, I guess go to a creepy old mansion, but people running around Area 51 with aliens and all that, it's a little more fun.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one, Brendan. I'm gonna have to definitely put that on the watch list. As Above, So Below, though. Mwah.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. I mean, genuine top 10. Oh yeah. Neely, do you have a favorite found footage horror?
You know what? As much as I'm into horror movies, I don't think that I'd ever seen one that I remember.
What's your favorite horror movie then? Just throw it out there.
More recently, I really like Talk to Me, but I also like The Ring. I like the TV series, The Haunting of Hill House. It's not technically a movie, but yeah.
It's a great series, though.
Yeah, really good.
Taryn, what's your favorite found footage horror movie?
Goodness, I mean, I could go on about As Above, So Below for an hour, so I'm glad we've already brought it up. I've shown it to so many people. Recently, I really have liked Phoenix Forgotten. I think it's really grounds itself in the realism, and the narrative device within it, I think, is really clever and engaging. And I've shown it to a couple people, and I like it each time. So both of those are definitely right up there for me. But I've seen so much because I've been interested in this genre for a long time. So it's very, very humbling to be a part of one, because it just feels so real, the genre, or it should be anyway. It should feel real.
Phoenix Forgotten is one that flies under the radar a lot. I really enjoyed that one. I just saw that recently, actually.
What I'm talking about. Yeah, I agree.
Oh yeah. No, absolute banger right there. Ryan, throwing this at you, slightly different question. Was there any found footage horror that inspired this script in particular?
No.
Ooh, okay. Not what I was expecting is the answer. Elaborate, please.
Truly, no. As far as inspiration, because the whole inspiration was pre-carved out by the company, so there really wasn't anything to go off of. I did look to the YouTube movie Milk and Cereal as a kind of sample to kind of see what modern take, because that had come out within the same month that we were working on this. So I looked to that to kind of see what a fresh modern take on the genre could do on a pretty minimal budget. But during the writing process, I also rewatched some of the older VHS movies, which I really like those a lot. Not a lot of misses in those shorts.
JJ, do you have a favorite found footage horror movie, or just a favorite horror movie in general?
So I don't think I've genuinely ever seen another like found footage but I will tell you a movie that I watched that messed me up. Have you seen The Substance?
Yeah.
That was I cannot tell you, I watched that not knowing what I didn't read the description. I was like, oh, what's this? This looks new. And that movie had me squirming. I've never had I've watched movies and I was so disturbed. I was touching my back and stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is probably the worst but best thing I've ever seen ever.
Favorite horror movie from last year, personally. That was awesome. Jose, the director of the film, what is your favorite found footage horror movie, sir?
Well, no one said Blair Witch. I'm not either. But I liked Blair. I was around when it first came out, and it was a big deal, and sort of started this whole thing. Oh shit, is it real? Is it real? What's going on? There's a whole website and everything. So that getting caught up in that was kind of fun, but I never thought I'd make a found footage movie, and so I was never a massive fan of the genre, to be honest. I've watched a handful. I do have a favorite, and to me, part 1 and part 2, I mean, they go hand in hand because they're sort of continuations. Masterfully made movies. Wreck 1 and Wreck 2. Holy crap, that is phenomenal. That is some of the best found footage action suspense. That's a movie that genuinely gets. And look, movies don't get to me. I'm JJ. It's nice to be young and to have reactions to movies. Congratulations on having that reaction to Substance. But I just sit there and, and movies don't affect me now. Maybe you'll get there eventually. Maybe not. But I'm so jaded. But a movie like Wreck can get me, man, because it's just a visceral fucking punch in the nuts. And I loved it. I like the entire franchise, but the first 2 are the best ones. And in prepping for this, I went back and I watched a lot of the more recent ones. I can't remember a single one. That's why I have Letterboxd, because that reminds me, I did see that. But I watched in the small prep time I had, and we can talk to Brendan about the pre-production process, because he was brought in after Ryan was done, way before I even knew this was a thing. So I had a week, maybe a week and a half, and so I watched as many found footage movies because I like to research a lot. I like to see what's in there. Let me swallow a lot of this stuff, and I watched maybe 20 found footage movies on Tubi. And saw what I liked, what I didn't like, what I think didn't work, what I think worked better, what I'd like to do more, and so that was sort of my little mini film school before the movie started. So props to Tubi for hooking me up with all that.
They have an insane found footage catalog over there, man. There's some hidden gems. There's some really good hidden gems in there for sure.
Yeah.
Wreck is such a great choice as well. Genuinely one of the most terrifying out there. And again, I really enjoyed Heretics a bunch, guys. Going down to Brendan again to lead us off here. Hello, Brendan. Do you have any final thoughts on Heretics? Is there something else that you just want to throw out there that we haven't talked about or discussed quite yet?
Well, I know Jose mentioned pre-production. This one actually had a really interesting, there were 3 different places we almost filmed. At the time when I was brought on, I was filming a movie in Australia, and there was, because we were making a documentary about the making of that film, we thought it'd be really fun if we gave the director this movie, and we were surprised, you have 2 movies in a row now that you have to do. And so for about 3 days, it was this whole like secret where the studio was like, yeah, we're down for this. And the doc team was like, we're totally down for this. And we had to kind of ask the director, like, without officially saying, hey, we're going to give you another movie. It's just like, hey, so like, what if you did another film like in a month or two for them? Like, what would happen? Like, would you be okay with this? And because we wanted to get it on camera. And we kind of like, we sussed it out enough. And then it was just like, no, he was like, it wouldn't work. So then it was like, okay. So after that, I went from Australia to Europe for one of my best friend's weddings. And so I told the studio, all right, well, I'm going to be in Europe for about 2-3 weeks. I spend a lot of time there. So I was like, well, I can do the movie in Europe. I have a whole team over there. And they were like, yeah, that could work. And then I was like, okay. So I started doing a quick little budget breakdown. And then, like, 2 days later, they were like, no, we actually want to shoot in LA. And it was like, okay, great. We could do it in LA. And that's when it was like, okay, well, Jose should do it. If we're doing it in LA, we should get Jose to do it. And the studio was like, yes, let's get Jose to do it. So basically it's like, with normally what I have to do is I'll get, 110-page script and, we break it down, and these are usually 6-day shoots. If you're really, really, really lucky, maybe 7, but that hasn't happened in a very, very long time. But with this one, I mean, the budget was 3 times less than what we normally work with, because it's found footage, like, so they were like, here's very little money, go make a movie. And we somehow did in 4 days. This whole shoot was a 4-day shoot. But from the producing standpoint, I think it was a very easy film to produce and a very easy set, because it was basically just me, you, Jose, and then it was our actors, our one production designer, and our makeup team and sound person. And then 2 people, our first AD, and then my production coordinator, and that was it. And every day, we didn't have 30 pages to shoot a day. It was kind of just like, here are the scenes that we have to get done. And from my observation, watching the cast, act and interact, like, they vibed really, really well together. They didn't have to memorize crazy dialogue, because some of these movies, especially the sci-fi ones, the dialogue is intense and it's a lot, and there are a lot of science words that just don't make sense. But with this one, everyone could kind of be themselves, and they could really take on the characters and like experiment and try. So this one I thought was great. But yeah, that was my experience. Fun, crazy little film shoot.
Nice. I love the intensity of it. Shooting a movie in 4 days sounds a little nerve-wracking, but at the same time, you have a movie done and like it's shot 4 days later. It's there you go. That's got to be exciting at the same time, I imagine,
Oh yeah.
Very nice, very nice.
I mean, it's not done. We shot the footage. We still have to edit it and make sense of it and be like, oh wait, cut around. Oh, you can't cut around that shit. All right, leave it in. ADR. We'll throw in an ADR to patch that. But it's the way we shot it since we didn't have a script, and normally I do a shot list, but since I didn't, and normally I write my own movies, so I was kind of coming in a little. This is very different because I normally know the characters inside and out or whatever. I know the situation. Like, oh, what did I do last scene? Well, this is the scene we did, blah, blah, blah. So the actors would say, wait, so what am I doing here? I'm like, shit, I don't know. Hold on. So we would have to look at the outline or like, okay, you know what? This isn't going to work because you mentioned this before. So let's go in this direction. It had to be fluid, and the fluidity helped us. And so what I did was just, I took the scene of events from the 20-page outline and just made that a shot list. Shot 1 is scene 1. They're playing cups. Scene 2, they're doing a dance sequence and they're learning to dance or whatever. And then that would be our shot list and whatever. And then we would have 1 to 2, 3 cameras at a time shooting around it. And somehow we were able to edit that. I mean, we had all pros on this, but I think it was a learning, a real not a learning challenge, but almost like, I don't want to say the Squid Game of filmmaking, but it was it was certainly a learning curve. And I think once we sort of got the vibe and we could have fun, then all bets were off. And I hope that carries on in the movie. You can see that at least the cast is what you see. You can see that they were having a good time making this.
Oh yeah, no, that definitely comes through. I think you can tell that a lot of fun was had on set for sure. I love the character relationships too in the film. I think you did a really good job with that.
Great.
Really enjoyed that a bunch. Throwing it back to Neely here though. Do you have any final thoughts on Heretics? Is there anything else you want to add to the conversation here?
I think most of the things I'd want to say have to do with spoilers, so I guess I'd just say everyone should watch it and enjoy.
To everyone else here, where can the folks at home watch this film currently?
It's everywhere. I have a list, but how about I will find that. You can ask Taryn a question. I will find that and get back to you.
We'll put that on hold for a second. Taryn, final thoughts on Heretics. What else do you want to throw out there about this film?
Man, I want to say it was such a collaborative experience, very beautiful to be able to work with people with such a good spirit. And for the story itself, I think it's a ton of fun. I think the audience may find characters or a specific character that they feel more connected to. And I think it's going to be a wild ride because you may be surprised which path each character goes down and what they kind of do to try to get what they want. And I'm going to sort of use that as a call to action so people can check it out and see who they can root for and hope their favorite gets to the end.
Yeah, I like that.
Jose, do we have an update on that list there?
We do. Okay, it's available on video on demand, Spectrum, Xfinity, Contour, Verizon on demand, Dish, DirecTV, Fandango at home. It'll be on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure if it's there yet. Apple TV, it's there now. Google and Microsoft, Movies and TV. It's also available on Hoopla, and it will be on Tubi at some point. I don't know when. February? I don't know. Something like that.
Wow, it's on
probably
like
around May, April or May. I think it'll be on Tubi.
Okay.
Usually, I think it's about 6 months or so after it comes out.
Yeah.
There you go.
So the folks at home have no excuse not to see this one now. There we go.
Everywhere.
Definitely give it a watch. Ryan, do you have any final thoughts you want to throw out there about Heretics?
Yeah, this was a, first time ever even getting to experience the, writing process of a found footage movie. So it was a very unique thing. From pitch to day one was a month. So day one of shooting was 1 month after the pitch was sent out. So this was Asylum moves fast. This was insane. This was the fastest I've ever seen it just go from 2 sentences to we're rolling. So it really did require a lot of people down the line, from hiring Jose to having Brendan to the cast to the AD to the makeup. Everybody had to be on it and on it quickly. And it was really just an A-team top to bottom. I went and visited set a couple of times, and it was like day 2 of shooting, but it earnestly felt like this cast had been friends for years, just right out the gate. And that's a testament to their abilities as actors to step into the role that they just got cast in 48 hours previously, if that. And to Jose for being a good director to make sure that everyone's working together and everyone's learning what they need to learn and knowing what they need to know. And there isn't time to make too many mistakes in 4 days, and for them to get that done and for it to be a cohesive film is an entry-level miracle in and of itself. And a lot of people worked really hard to make this a finished product, and everyone should be very proud of what they see on film.
Oh yeah, I love that. Cohesion is so important with a film set, with basically a group of people doing anything, and that's wonderful to hear. It sounds like you guys, although through the chaos, you bonded and made this film together, and I love that. It's very epic. It's very triumphant. JJ, any final thoughts on Heretics here?
I'm just glad I was just to be a part of everything. It was just different, something. It was just fun. Like it almost didn't didn't feel like we were like. I don't know how to explain it. It was just different, and I'm just glad that I got to be a part of it. Honestly, so give it a watch. It's great.
Nice. There we go. There we go. And Jose, our director, final thoughts on Heretics.
Well, you know, well, it's interesting because a lot of people sort of feeling the same thing. It felt very different, you know, when you make a movie. Normally, you meet with the cast, you have a table read, you sort of sit around, you kind of figure out what the characters are beforehand, and then when you get on set and cameras are up and there's cameras in your faces, it's you know, it becomes a thing, it becomes work. Here, I felt like, I think because we were you know, our cameras were stuff we have in our pockets most of the time. It never really felt like work to me, and I think because we had that freedom, I didn't also feel the pressure from the producers, like, hey, no, this shot is out of focus. This shot looks like video. Like there was, I think Brendan, we even got a note, right, where they're like, are you sure you're shooting on a phone because it looks too good?
We did. Oh yeah, I remember. We got a note and we got the phone call. So I got the phone call of, are you guys shooting on iPhone or is this a Red camera? And it was like, no, this is iPhone. And we're just like, okay. And I was like, okay, cool. So
yeah, you know, I think having that freedom just reminded me of film school again. The first movie I ever made was with my friends right out of film school. We shot it on DV, and it was the most fun I've ever had making a movie. This was the most fun asylum movie I've ever shot. Out of gosh, 6? Is it 6 of them? I think I directed. I don't remember now. 6, I think. This is the most fun I've ever had making an asylum movie. It was a blast. It never felt like work. It felt like we were just having fun. This cast, you know, I was sort of the unofficial 8th member, you know, giggling from the sidelines as they would do stupid shit, and I would, you know, and then there was a word that I wanted them to start saying, choinks, which was JJ's character's sort of like thing. It was like, you know, stop trying to make fetch happen. It was choinks. We were trying to make choinks happen, and it will eventually happen. And I would come up to them and say, hey, let's try this, say that. And they're like, all right, let's go. And they would never, you know, they would never be hesitant. I mean, I wouldn't ask them to do weird shit, but that sense of play, that sense of, you know, creation and discovery and being able to, hey, let's try that. We don't have a lot of time, but let's try it differently. Don't be so harsh. You come in maybe a little less emotional. Let's see if we can build the scene differently. All those little tweaks and that little kind of like experimental magic, it's something that you don't always get. And the fact that we got to do it, it really, yeah, I think Terrence said it felt like a play. It felt very, very, very much like we were rehearsing. We were making a play on the spot, and we just happened to have somebody with some iPhones filming the rehearsal footage. That's what it felt like. And I like, man, I never had a bad day. And there's usually one day on set where I'm like, it's just not a great day emotionally or whatever. But no bad days on this one. It holds a very special place in my heart. And I hope people give it a chance. That's my wish.
Oh, that's wonderful, man. I love to hear things like that. Great experiences on set. That these are just some of the most wholesome stories that come through this channel. I'm usually talking about people getting decapitated or disemboweled, so it's great. It's great to hear. Definitely check out Heretics on VOD and literally all of those places that Jose just listed, like 10 minutes ago or so. Give it a watch. Give this definitely check this one out. And thank you guys all for joining me. I appreciate you, fellas.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Real
Thank
quick,
you so much.
I want to plug 2 things. Well, first, I want to plug my upcoming movie, but I'm going to throw it to Ryan because his comes out first. Ryan, tell us about Jolly Monkey.
Get ready to see this guy on camera and in your nightmares. Coming sometime beginning of March, end of February. Slasher, a lot of fun.
It's already in my nightmares, I can tell you that much. Jeez. I need to know more, Ryan. You're going to have to come back and talk about that. That's wild. Brutal. Nice.
And it's funny, we both made doll movies this year. Well, technically mine was last year, but anyway, but you shot right after us. So last year then, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It was right before Christmas.
Yeah. We both made doll movies. Mine is called Killer Doll. I have the doll, but she's in the other room, and she's kind of big, so I can't bring her in right now. Killer Doll comes out, I think June. Brendan, is that what we'll settled on?
It's coming out. It's coming out in June. Yeah.
Okay.
Got a bit of a wait, but you know.
A bit of a wait. They made me fucking shoot it in November, but whatever. Or October. October? No, November. What? When was it? Whatever. It was one
November.
of those.
We did Heretics in October, and then we did Killer Doll in November.
Yeah, there you go. Coming out in June, and it is I think my favorite script that I've written for Asylum. I will say this. I can't okay. It's my homage to Scream. It's an LGBT fairy tale horror love story. That's all I'm gonna say right now for Killer Doll. Coming June, bitch. So it's on the poster.
I love it already. I love everything about it so far. This is great, man. And you know what? Since we're just shamelessly plugging at this point, does anybody else want to throw something out there?
Brendan,
in theory,
Brendan, you should mention something.
I directed in secret last year. I mean, it's not a secret if you look it up. I directed a Mickey Mouse slasher film called Mouse of Horrors, and that is coming out this month. I'm not going to tell you the day, but it will be out this month, and we shot it in Wales. It was the most chaotic film I've ever been a part of. We made it for, when I say no money, I mean less than an Asylum movie. It was insane. But we shot in an amusement park. We had a massive cast of 18 or 19, I think, all together. And some pretty fucked up kills. So once that's out, I'm sure you will see it somewhere. But it will be out kind of on all the typical platforms, like Tubi, any VOD, video on demand platform, you'll be able to find it. So get ready for that.
Awesome. I'm hyped for it, man. It sounds very secretive, which I'm all about.
Well, he's bearing the lead, but if he's not going to mention it, I
can't. I can't. I want to say it, but I'm like, no, I can't. I have to let it happen naturally. So
maybe off air we'll tell you, Jake.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Off air we'll do it.
Well, let's wrap this bad boy up. Thank you all for joining me as well, and definitely go check out Heretics for the viewers at home. Thank you all for watching again, and as always, peace out.